from broker supervision to real-world tenant experience. As we move forward from Section 31 on broker supervision and control, we now shift from the broker's responsibility behind the scenes to what happens on the front lines, the tenant experience. If Section 31 focused on policies, procedures, and oversight, Section 32 shows what happens when those systems either work or fail. Tenant dissatisfaction and complaints are often the first visible sign of weak supervision, poor communication, or broken systems. This is where compliance meets real-world consequences. At the core of every successful property management relationship is clear communication. Property managers must provide tenants with accurate information about their rights, responsibilities, and procedures, while also responding promptly to questions and maintenance requests. When communication breaks down, frustration builds quickly. Tenants who feel ignored or misinformed are far more likely to escalate issues into complaints, disputes, or even legal action. This ties directly back to Section 18, where we emphasized communication and responsiveness as a foundational skill, not just a customer service tool, but a compliance requirement. Another critical expectation is timely maintenance and repairs. Property managers are responsible for maintaining the property in a habitable condition, and failure to do so can create serious consequences. Delayed repairs often lead to tenant dissatisfaction, negative reviews, and formal complaints. More importantly, under landlord-tenant laws, failure to maintain habitability can expose the property manager and owner to legal claims. In some cases, tenants may withhold rent, terminate leases, or pursue damages if repairs are not handled properly. This ties directly back to Section 29, where we discussed operating reserves. Because without proper financial planning, timely repairs become difficult or impossible. When repairs are neglected, the consequences extend beyond a single tenant complaint. There are reputation consequences, which refer to the negative impact on a property manager's or company's public image due to poor performance or failure to act appropriately. In today's digital world, tenants can easily share their experiences online, and negative reviews can quickly damage a property's reputation. This can lead to loss of current tenants, difficulty attracting new tenants, and strained relationships with real estate professionals. Over time, poor reputation can even impact property value, making it harder to lease or sell the asset. There are also legal and financial consequences tied to tenant dissatisfaction. If maintenance issues lead to injury or unsafe conditions, the property manager and owner may face liability claims. Regulatory agencies may impose fines for code violations or unsafe living conditions. In Arizona, failure to maintain proper records, mishandle deposits, or violate tenant rights can result in ADRI disciplinary action, including fines, license suspension, or revocation. This ties directly back to Section 31, where we emphasize that poor supervision often leads to these types of violations. Another major area of complaints involves privacy and unauthorized entry. Property managers must respect tenant privacy and provide proper notice before entering a unit, except in emergencies. When this rule is violated, tenants may document the incident, file complaints, or even pursue legal action. This creates not only legal exposure, but also a breakdown in trust between the tenant and the property manager. Respecting privacy is not just a courtesy, it is a legal obligation that directly impacts tenant satisfaction and risk management. Adherence to lease agreements is another key factor in preventing complaints. Both the tenant and the property manager must follow the terms of the lease, including rent payments, rules, and procedures for changes or amendments. When lease terms are inconsistently enforced, confusion and disputes arise. This connects back to earlier sections on contracts and documentation, where we emphasized that consistency is critical in enforcing agreements. Fair treatment and compliance with fair housing laws are also essential. Property managers must treat all tenants equally and avoid any form of discrimination. Violations of fair housing laws can result in severe penalties, including fines that may reach tens of thousands of dollars, along with potential civil damages. This ties directly back to Section 31, where we discussed advertising compliance and the prohibition of discriminatory language or practices. Another major driver of tenant complaints is poor record keeping. Accurate records of communications, payments, maintenance requests, and repairs are essential for resolving disputes. Under ARS, paragraph 32-2175, property managers must maintain financial and transactional records for a required period. When records are missing or incomplete, property managers may struggle to defend themselves in disputes, leading to increased liability, legal costs, and potential disciplinary action. This ties directly back to Section 29, where we discussed financial reporting and documentation systems. When issues do arise, conflict resolution becomes critical. Property managers and tenants should work toward resolving disputes through communication, documentation, and, when necessary, mediation. Addressing problems early can prevent escalation into legal disputes or formal complaints. This reinforces a key theme throughout this course. Most risk in property management can be reduced through proactive communication and proper documentation. Additionally, strong property managers use feedback and continuous improvement to reduce future complaints. Listening to tenant concerns, identifying patterns, and improving systems helps prevent recurring issues. This ties back to broker supervision, as the designated broker should be monitoring trends in complaints and adjusting policies or training accordingly. The financial consequences of tenant dissatisfaction can be significant. Fines for record-keeping violations, improper deposit handling, or advertising issues may range from hundreds to thousands of dollars. Fair housing violations can result in penalties starting around $16,000 and increasing significantly for repeat offenses. Unauthorized entry violations, maintenance failures, and legal disputes can add additional costs, including attorney fees and damages. Beyond fines, turnover costs, vacancy losses, and reputational damage can create long-term financial impact for both the property manager and the property owner. As we tie this section back to Section 31, the connection is clear. Broker supervision establishes the systems and oversight needed to manage a property effectively. Section 32 shows what happens when those systems fail: tenant dissatisfaction, complaints, legal exposure, and financial loss. In property management, complaints are not just problems. They are warning signs that something in the system needs to be corrected. Online discussion. Why is tenant dissatisfaction often a sign of deeper operational issues in property management? Answer: because complaints usually indicate breakdowns in communication, maintenance, documentation, or supervision systems within the brokerage. How do timely repairs impact both tenant satisfaction and legal compliance? Answer: timely repairs maintain habitability, reduce complaints, and help avoid legal claims or regulatory penalties for unsafe living conditions. Why is documentation critical when handling tenant complaints? Answer: proper documentation provides evidence of actions taken, helps resolve disputes, and protects the property manager from liability.